Curses. Anyway, where was I? Well, I guess you didn't hear anything. So I'm coming to you from my bus, mostly finished, as finished as it's gonna get for the time being. I'm out here in California, and and I'm pleased to report that the bus has been an absolute joy to call home for the last week or so. And we did great driving across the Great American West. Took Highway 50, one of the best highways, the loneliest highway in America, as they say. And I had a great time. The bus drove really, really well, towing my Honda Element, which is a great towed vehicle. I'm going to be doing a video on my towed setup, why I chose the Element, and how I got that all purchased and installed, the whole kit and caboodle, including the car, for under $4,000, which is pretty great, I would say, if you're a handy person and you're not afraid of, maybe buying a used vehicle. I'm up here in Northern California. So if you're in Northern California, we're near each other. I know that's a big area, but I'm kind of all over the place. And right now I'm just on the other side of the Nevada state line off I-80. I'll be doing some work in Reno the coming weeks, and kind of all over this area. So if you're in the area and you want my help, shoot me an email or drop me a line, chuck@chuckcassidy.com. I'm available. I'm for hire. I'm a good time. Mostly just trying to do solar installs though, and electrical work, because I don't have all of my tools with me. That would have been a lot. They're still in my house in Colorado, where I will be working to get that thing finished on this 5-year long renovation project. Apparently, holy cow! That's what happens when you have to gut that 120-year-old home all the way to the studs, and well, rebuild everything basically. So, I don't know if I'll be taking this thing to Burning Man. I kind of I hesitate. I hesitate to take my buses to Burning Man because it's a very inhospitable environment, and the playa silt is a concern. I know there's ways to mitigate it and stuff, but who knows? I've never been to Burning Man. Well, so maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm missing out. So glad you're all joining me. By the way, I know it's been a while, and I hope you can forgive me. I've been incredibly busy. Holy moly! Getting this bus ready to try to get out to California by this time of the year was a big push, and I couldn't have done it by myself. I had help, in particular Adam. Thank you so much for the help. He's a good friend of mine. He's a carpenter, and he and I really hit it hard the last 4 weeks. And thanks to my other friend Brandon, who did the upholstery for me. I mean, I'll take you guys on a brief tour since you're tuned in. But here's one of the old seat cushions there at the dinette. So glad. Okay, so let's see who's in the chat and where you're from. And we'll get going. We'll try to get back on schedule. Technical issues be danged, huh? Thank you so much for being here. Wow, we got people from everywhere. It looks like. Thank you all. Hey, thank you to anybody who watches the YouTube videos. I put those out there really to help you not make as many mistakes as I have, and so that you can do this insane project, which is converting a school bus into an off-grid tiny home with the least amount of headache. None of us have enough time or enough money, and making mistakes or doing things the wrong way, well, oftentimes that costs both of those things. And so if I can help you, that is really my goal here. And there's a lot of ways that I can help you aside from the videos too, and we'll talk about that later on. But I offer consultation services. I design and can distribute the equipment for your solar systems. I have better prices than you'll get anywhere else on the internet, and that's a way that we can help each other. You buy the things from me, I get you a deal, I make a little bit of money off of that, and you get a great system. And hey, that's what it's all about, right? We're here to help each other. So thanks for tuning in. Hey, we got Nomadic Alpha. What's up, Alex? Wow, one of my mods. Haven't seen a mod of mine in about 700 years. They all left. I've been having a great time in this bus, by the way. I sold my last bus and moved out of it on Halloween of 2020. And so it was a little over 4 years of not living in a bus while I lived in my house and worked on that and closed my shop down and then bought this bus and, you know, converted this bus while also converting renovating my house into a much more livable version of what it was when I bought it. Wow, building a bus in Northeast Pennsylvania, that sounds cold and for some reason rusty. you know, we got BC, that makes us international. Huma, is that how you say it? Huma, Louisiana. I'll be in Louisiana later this spring. I got roots in Louisiana. Nice to see. That represented here. James Seidel. We have some familiar faces here in the chat. That's cool. Julian Valentine. Yeah, glad to help you. Yeah, really. I mean, doing the best I can to help as many people as possible, and the people that choose me to design their systems or help them on their projects. I really thank you. That keeps the wheels on this bus turning. You don't make much money on YouTube, at least if you're a fella like me, and you're just out there making educational content. You're not gonna get the same money as you will, as if you might be a more attractive version of, another type of human that they get the views just by virtue of being attractive, and good for them, But I'm here to teach you as much as I can, and we keep the flash and razzle dazzle to a minimum. Here we go. Gosh, great to see everybody. Thank you for coming in here on this Thursday. I tricked 85 of you into joining with me, so that's pretty cool. Arvada, yeah, Burr, you know what I'm saying? Cool. Homa, there we go. Yeah, thank you for the pronunciation guideline there. So I guess, while we're here, I'll give you a few thoughts on what I'm doing. And, this bus for me is also, of course, a bit of a test bed. It is, I went all electric. And by that, I mean, of course, it's still got the diesel engine, but the entire living system of this bus is powered by electricity. And so when I did the last bus that I lived in, I installed the solar system in that bus I bought the components in 2014. And in 2014, the best you could do for a, residential sized solar panel was 300 watts, or 315 watts actually. And that was for a panel that was roughly 42 by 80 inches. And which was really good at the time. And at the time, this was before solar powered air conditioning on buses or things was a thing. But and I didn't know that. I did that whole bus build, which is not my first either. But that whole bus build I did ignorant of this thing called #vanlife and Instagram, and it was thanks to my girlfriend at the time being like, "Dude, you're doing this thing that everybody else is doing already," and I'm like, "Oh wow, I've already been doing this, and everybody else is already doing this. I guess I should do that." And she convinced me to start the Instagram account, and that's when I learned that this is a whole thing. Go figure, And at the time, you couldn't do air conditioning off of solar power. The technology and at the price particularly wasn't there. And so I was like, well, I can't live in this bus without air conditioning in Colorado. And so I designed the whole bus around trying to do that. That's why I went with spray foam. That was my first time doing spray foam, my first time doing a roof raise, my first time swapping the RV windows. And I put 6 315 watt panels on the roof for whatever that is, 1900 and some odd watts. And, nothing was Victron. I had 8 lead acid golf cart batteries, but it was enough for me to run a very efficient window mount AC unit. And that was enough. It was not enough to keep it totally comfortable in there, but it was enough to keep it below 90, which I felt was quite the feat. And so I used propane for my cooking, and then I also did electric for hot water, but it was never really optimized in a great way. So flash forward 10 years, and now same footprint of solar panel. We're talking roughly 42 by 80 inches. You're getting 450 watts easily. And now they have bifacial panels, which unfortunately I didn't have easy access to when I built this bus, and they were still kind of relatively new when I installed these panels, which was over 2 years ago now. That can be, they're 450 watts with up to 550 watts each, thanks to bifacial technology, which lets them receive solar power from underneath. And if you paint your roof white, you'll get reflectivity that way. Also, if you ever parked on snow or white concrete or any reflective surface, you're going to get more power. And that's really nice because I'm a big fan of mounting the panels flat, not messing around with tilt mechanisms because I find those to be convoluted. Anytime you're introducing complexity into your system, it really has to be worth it. and if a tilt panel mount system on your roof fails, it could at worst it could fly off the roof, and kill someone, I guess. But what's more likely to do is it's going to have lots of issues and be a nuisance. Anyways, I'm rambling because I want to paint the whole picture. This bus, I was able to fit 5 450 watt panels, which is more than I had on my last bus. And then the big advancement was moving to lithium iron phosphate batteries. I have 20 kilowatt hours of battery capacity on this bus. I've got 4 server rack batteries, technically more than 20 kilowatt hours, but roughly around there. Whereas on the last bus I lived in with 8 golf cart batteries, I think I had 7 kilowatt hours of usable capacity, which is nothing, And the cool thing also about lithium batteries in particular is the charge profile. They have a very low internal resistance. And what that means is as you're filling them up with the typical lead acid batteries, you get close to their charged voltage, they can't accept power at the same rate. So even though you have all the power in the world to give them, once they hit, on a 12 volt battery, 14.4 volts, you don't want to go above that. And so you just hold it there at 14.4 volts and they come up at their own pace. That's the absorption cycle of the charge, where you maintain a voltage and then they come up to meet you there. And when they meet you there, that's generally when you're fully charged. Lithium batteries, the charge profile allows you to hit that absorption voltage and it'll and try to hit that voltage, but it'll take all that you got up until the very, very bitter end. So not only do they hold more energy, they can take in more energy more efficiently. Okay, so it's not just more capacity, it's not just longer life or lighter weight or any of that. It's also being able to receive the power you're getting more efficiently. So here we go. So I'm like, I want to try to go all electric in this bus. And it made me a little uneasy, but I want to try to do it because solar and electric is kind of my thing. And I wanted to put my money where my mouth is, so to speak. And so we did all electric. It's a 120 volt system. Okay, I've got a 5,000 watt inverter. I have a Quattro 5,000 watt inverter. And I've got 4 of those EG4 server rack batteries, 5 450 watt solar panels on the roof. And so far, I'll tell you my performance data on my first week on the road. I do not have a DC to DC charger installed yet. I will be installing one for certain. I'm waiting. There's a couple of great options out there right now, to be honest. And Sterling Energy just dropped a new one. I'm also a dealer for them. They just dropped a new one that's very high power. So if you have the alternator that can handle it, you can charge it up to 1,700 watts. But as someone who's kind of in the loop of the Victron world, I know that they have a new DC to DC charger coming out this spring or summer that will be capable of 1,440 watts of output. And I like to keep everything within the Victron ecosystem so it can all talk to each other and stuff. So I'll be holding out until that happens. So I'm made this whole drive. I've been living so far off of just, the power that I had. I left my house with a full battery bank. And it's been nothing but storms. I don't know if you've been tracking the weather, but I basically was in a storm, driving in little pockets without the storm over the course of almost 4 days. And my bus has a 120 volt electrical system. I have a 120 volt mini split in the back, a 12,000 BTU unit. I don't use that for heat when I'm off grid. I use a diesel heater for heating off grid, and the diesel heater uses virtually no power. On high, I think it's around 40 watts. I'm never on high. In this bus, because I'm so well insulated, if I'm at the temperature I want, I can maintain pretty much any temperature down to about 0 degrees without going past the level 3 setting. So it uses virtually no power. I have a DC fridge, okay, a marine style fridge. I have an electric water heater that I converted to DC. I'll be doing a video on that. It uses a DC heating element, and I like to do that because it means I can run my water heater without it using power through the inverter, which is more efficient for sure. It also means that, you know, of the power that my inverter can produce, being a 5,000 volt amp or a 5,000 watt inverter, it means that my 1,500 watts of power that my water heater is using doesn't come through my inverter. So I still have all of that capacity left over to run my mini split, my 120 volt induction cooktop, which is made by Summit. I did some tests. They have the highest performing, highest output 120 volt induction cooktop that you can get. A lot of the other 120 volt cooktops, you actually never see more than about 900 watts per burner, which is actually not very much. This one actually lets you get, truly, well over 1,000 watts per burner, which is nice. It's going to cook obviously a lot more like its gas counterpart. And then I have a Coolmore 120 volt combination oven, convection oven, and microwave all in one. And I know, don't get me on my soapbox about the misinformation around microwaves because I just can't handle it. It's an example of how pseudoscience and people making videos with a few words that go over people's heads so they believe them has tricked a lot of people into thinking that microwaves are somehow destroying the nutrient qualities of their food, when the truth is anytime you overcook food, you're wrecking the nutrients. It's just far easier to do that on a microwave. That's where I stand. So I'm cool with having a microwave because it's a very energy efficient way to reheat food. I much prefer to bake things, of course, but look, in my opinion, the microwave. But partner, we got bigger problems, okay? So that's kind of the rough deal of my setup. Everything critical for life support is running off of DC. So my water pump, my vent fans, my lighting, my charge ports, that's all DC. I really only have to turn on the inverter if I'm cooking or want to run the mini split, but it's the winter time, so it's really only if I'm cooking. So all that said, leave with the full battery bank, and I just now plugged in this afternoon, and that's because the place where I'm staying now, I'm covered. I'm in the forest. If I wasn't in the forest, I certainly wouldn't have needed to plug in. But I basically went I left on Wednesday and it's Thursday. So I went 8 days of living recklessly comfortably in this bus. For a handful of those days, I wasn't alone on the bus, so there was extra energy being used. Taking showers every day, baking things in the oven, doing all that kind of stuff. And I just now today got down to 8% and figured I better plug in so I would make sure I have power for this live stream here. And if I wasn't in the shade, I would still be doing fine. And that, to me, is a very positive and pleasing test result to know that that's possible. Now, granted, my system is very expensive. If you were to buy all of these components, paying full retail price, you're probably into the $13,000 or $14,000 range. And I acknowledge that is not cheap nor accessible to everybody. I totally understand that. However, it means that I don't have to have a propane system. It means that, also because of the way the system is designed and the way every Victron system can function, I can plug into, a standard wall outlet and limit my current so I'm never tripping a breaker and live totally comfortably and still power large loads because of their input current limit feature and their load, their power assist feature as well. So it's very cool, and I've just been through the moon. I mean, this thing is comfortable as heck to live in. It's super climate controlled. The diesel heater and the ductwork is all working great, and I've been very pleased with how so far I think that this electrical system is a pretty solid recipe. If you can get to around 2,400 watts of solar, if you can get 4 server rack batteries, and then have a 5,000 watt inverter, and then have your water heater be on DC, you're really setting yourself up to live pretty well. And if that's a system that you're interested in or you want to know more about it, you can go to my website. You can book a consult with me for $69, and we'll spend a half hour talking about what your needs are. We'll design a system for you, and it's always fun for me because it's another data point for me. And you're gonna get a system that works, that's designed by somebody who's like doing what you want to do. I do oftentimes work with people who have somebody who is a professional electrician or an off-grid guy or a solar guy or whatever, and they're well-intended. Even the people from the marine world are very well-intended, but they oftentimes design systems that are more expensive or more complicated than they need to be that end up kind of underperforming still. And, I've really spent the last 10 years of my life honing in on how to make the highest performing, most cost effective solar system you can for a bus. And this has been very validating to live in this system and see how well it does. And so I love helping people. You can go to my website, you can book a consult. And if you're considering doing a solar system, I'm just going to put this out there. Like, politically speaking, there is a lot of change happening in the global economic landscape, particularly with regard to the cost of imported goods into this country. And the vast majority of solar and solar related equipment comes from overseas and China. And as these tariffs come into effect, or as more tariffs become announced, we don't know. It's unlikely that things will get cheaper moving forward. So if you're considering this, just buddy to buddy, it might be worth it to buy some things ahead of time, because boy, a 20% tariff on a $6,000 or $7,000 order of batteries is no laughing matter. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, I love the bus. Functionally, electrically, it's been doing great. I did a bunch of stuff with the water system that's just been tickling me, and I can't wait to do a full tour for you all once I have a little bit more time. But enough, perhaps, of the ramble and my just unbelievable appreciation for how well this bus does. And we'll look at a few of your questions, if you've got them in here now, and we'll take it from there. How is everyone doing? By the way, I hit the road, so I took taking a break from drinking, and I've been enjoying these Mountain Time Premium Lagers that are left over from the bus warming party that I had. We had a little picnic grill out thing in City Park down there in Denver, and that was really cool. Thanks to everyone who turned out for that. That was my grandma, my aunt and uncle, lots of cool people. All right, we're gonna fly through these. We're gonna just skim through this and get right into it. Okay. All right, here we go. No rust. Nice. Working inside. Good deal, Jonathan. Bearded lady. I think, is that in reference to a plant or a dragon? I don't know. Or a person, everyone can have a beard if they want. Brenton, you appreciate the lack of clickbait, even though, yeah, and I appreciate that you appreciate it. I feel guilty every time I put ads in my videos of any kind, because all we have in this world, the most precious commodity, is our attention. And I hate to just take your attention and use it so I can make money. But it costs money to make these videos, especially because I hire professional videographers and editors as much as I can. And I like giving people jobs. I'm by no means the expert. If you're coming through Sacramento, I'd love to meet you. Yeah, you got my number, Julian. And I fly in and out of Sacramento, so I'm through there all the time if you ever want to hang out or want to meet up. Pistachio, great name, great nut. Great ice cream. Do you recommend keeping the air conditioning unit in my bus or installing an RV air conditioning? I'm assuming you're talking about the one it came with. Well, the one you came with won't work if you're parked. And I'm imagining that you're planning on spending more time in your bus parked than driving. So I would consider swapping to something. I personally do not recommend the RV air conditioning units because they are too inefficient to run off of solar, or really easily off of a lot of different alternative energy sources because of their design. They don't use an inverter. They have their motors are induction motors, and they're directly connected to the power source they're plugged into. So when they start up, they place a huge inductive load on whatever's powering them. And that means that for a brief period of time, a few seconds, they can pull up to 4 times their rated power consumption when they're running. It's called their locked rotor amps. So the LRAs, that's what they're called, of a 13,000 BTU rooftop unit might be as high as 40 amps. Okay, whereas when it's running, it's only 10. Well, 40 amps at 120 volts is 4,800 watts of power. Big problem, Your 3,000 watt inverter can't handle that. But once it's running, sure, it could easily power it, right? Because that's only 1,000 watts. There's ways to deal with that. You could install a soft start system that will help. But the big issue that you're going to run into after the locked rotor amps issue is that a rooftop air, it can't ramp up and down in a nice continuous fashion, and the fan is always running on usually either low or high, and so it's always just using a ton of power. um, the lowest I've seen a rooftop air run at is around 600 watts, okay, which is still quite a bit. um, Mini splits can ramp up and down continuously, and they can even ramp as low as like 2 to 300 watts. So once you hit that set temperature, instead of cycling on and off and always having to be continuously running, you get a much more refined cooling experience, and they have bigger coils, which makes them significantly more efficient. So long story long, I never recommend the rooftop air unless you don't care about efficiency and you want ease of installation. And then by all means, it's a great fit. They're also, but they are loud too, louder than heck. Let's cruise on down. Deborah Jones, boy, got a super chat here. Thank you so much. I'm gonna like that in real time. And thank you, Deborah. Thank you. She says, "Thank you so much for your videos and help. Without you, I would have built a death trap." Well, you're welcome, Deb. And don't worry, you can still build a death trap with me if it makes you feel any better. No, but in all serious sincerity, I really appreciate that. And that's what I'm here for. I'm not, some people have, look, I read the comments, okay? I do. And a lot of people express, some kind of reservations with me because a lot of the methods or a lot of the things I do are expensive. And I hear that, I am not a rich person either. But there are places where I feel it is worth spending money. And I think insulation, electrical, anything that's in a wall, anything you don't get a take back on, spend the money on. And then you can go cheap on things like cabinetry and stuff. You really can. I mean, look, I'm going to say some big numbers and talk about them like they're not big, but like spending $3,000 to use spray foam, or spending even $5,000 to use spray foam versus spending $2,000 or $3,000 to use something else. To me, that's so worth it. The spray foam will always be working for you. It's got a significantly higher R value. It has a lot of other advantages. And so, like, in the grand scheme of how much money you're spending on this build and how much money you will spend on it as you continue to live into it, an extra couple grand, on insulation, that's nothing. You will spend that much on 2 tires, like pretty easily. You could go, I got new steer tires for this bus. It was $1,300 for brand new ones. If you had gotten a flat and had to get towed in, there's your $2,000, So I don't know. Going to town doing tile and hardwoods and stuff, that's expensive. That's very expensive, and that adds up much quicker, in my opinion. And the only benefits are aesthetic, and you can build an aesthetically beautiful space without spending lots of money. You certainly can. You don't have to buy nice wood and stuff. I've seen it done. Some of my favorite builds, and that's a skill that I frankly wish I was better at, but like, people really can make their money go far in the decoration and build out environment, whereas in the building science and mechanicals and things like that, you really want to just have the good stuff, in my opinion, because there's no takebacks really, and if you build a cheap cabinet, you can always rip it out. If you don't use spray foam, you really can't change your mind on that. So, you know what I'm saying. But Deborah, thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate that. And honest to goodness, every bit helps. I do like all of that. Are EG4 inverters just as good in a bus as Victron? From Jonathan Campbell. No, they're not. And it's not because of their build quality necessarily. This is a fundamental difference in how the inverters are made. And my big gripe, honestly, with all-in-one units has always been that they have a high idle consumption. When they are just sitting there on, they use significantly more than their Victron counterparts. They're also very cheap. And that is a very compelling argument, right? But in our buses, our energy usage, it's a very, we're governed by the laws of physics here. We only have so much roof space, okay? And we are not allowed to use more energy than we can produce with that very limited roof space that we possess. And because we are limited so severely on, like, beyond a problem we could simply throw more money at, right? We only have so much roof space. We're forced to be efficient. To make this all work, it is all contingent upon being efficient, as well as using high quality components and high performing components. So, if you have the difference, the last time I did the math, okay, and forgive me, I know there's new models coming out all the time, but it was basically comparing one of these EG4 all-in-one units to a Victron Multi Plus, just the one unit. And the difference in consumption, over a 24-hour period, if you're leaving it on over 24 hours, if you're leaving the system on, I had it down to, it was something like around a kilowatt hour of energy over a 24-hour period. Well, what does that mean, Chuck? That's the same as running a 1,000 watt device for 1 hour. That's also the same, okay, let's think about it this way, as a 200 watt solar panel on a sunny day. All that you're going to get out of a 200 watt solar panel on a typical sunny day, using a kind of general rule of thumb of saying it's the same as about 5 full hours of rated output, you're only going to get about 1 kilowatt hour out of a 200 watt panel. So what it means is if you're going to install an EG4 system, right, one of those all-in-ones, it's going to be using probably around 800 to 1,000 watt hours or 1 kilowatt hour extra of power per day over a similarly sized Victron system. And these might be changing, okay? And if I'm wrong, please let me know in the comment section. But that means that of your limited roof space that you have for solar, 200 watts of what you've got up there is just going to your inverter. And to me, that becomes problematic if you're trying to do like an all-electric bus or something like that, if you really want to make sure you have all the power. So that justifies the cost difference. And we're talking about, to go from an EG4 system, an all-in-one, to a Victron system, it's an extra probably $1,700. You also get a ton of extra features and functions and compatibility, the ability to log in anywhere in the world and control things or whatever, which I use all the time. But in terms of brute functionality, the same system, you're looking at an extra $1,500 to $1,700. And is that efficiency worth it to you? I don't know, right? If you got a 40-foot bus, maybe it don't matter. But on my bus, I just couldn't do it. That would probably be the difference. That's 10% of my daily production, right? Would be going to just the inverter. And I can't do that. It's too much. So hope that answers that question. We sure talked a lot about it, didn't we? Jeff, you've been waiting for the Victron products purchased due to technology updates. Ready to now schedule that consult, Jeff. I think chuckcassidy.com, and you can schedule it there, and I'd be happy to help you. Honestly, so the pricing changes every quarter for a lot of these companies. The next quarter, starts in March. So if these new tariffs mean that they're going to be raising prices in the next quarter, it's just something to consider. And I'm not saying this because I'm trying to push. I'm not trying to push business toward me. I'm trying to tell you that this might be the difference between your electrical system being attainable or being out of budget, right? And this is one of the things, like spray foam, like doing a good job with your floor, that I think are important no matter how much you're going to spend on your bus. Even if you don't do a Victron system, I mean, any of the affordable lithium batteries that you can buy, they're all coming from China. The Lifetime, I can't even, there's a million companies, right? They're all going to be subject to these tariffs potentially. Well, as far as I know right now, not just potentially, they are going to be. And so everything is going to be going up by 25%. Because tariffs are passed on to the consumer, So whatever you're doing electrically, maybe consider doing it now or before March 21st or whenever that quarter starts. So, anywho, get off my. It's not really a soapbox. It's more like a news anchor desk. Um, okay, did you pick anthurium intentionally, knowing that it's particularly good at removing chemicals, and formaldehyde from that era was just a whim? Um, nice. No, I didn't. Is that the name of the plant here? I would. It was a gift, and we are trying to remember what the name of that plant is. But no, that's a. But that's good. That's good. That's good. Formaldehyde is bad, no doubt. And although, as far as I know, everything in here, at least all, as in particular, all of my finishes are low or no VOC, no formaldehyde. The worst thing in here is definitely the spray foam. This is a green product. All of these finishes are Rubio Monocoat, which is a green no VOC product. The floor is all natural. It's called marmoleum. It's the original linoleum. It's made out of linseed oil and crushed limestone. Pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff here. Here we go. Here we go. Julian's here we go. Been running 4 VG4 and 9 465-watt panels. Winter has been about 1,700 watts peak harvest in the afternoon, something like 8 kilowatt hours a day. So what is that? Wait, yeah. So see, and that's even a little bit less than what I was saying. Keep in mind, we just got through the very shortest time of year as far as daytime and the angle of the sun in the sky for producing good power. But cool. We got people living in a bus full time in nature. That's great. Don't like to nail things down because the light changes through the year. I hear you on that. That's cool. Pressure cooker? Absolutely. Yeah, see, we're talking microwaves and electromagnetic radiation in a tin can bus. See, that's when we start to get into that thing that's like, boy, that's a whole video. And I would love to I would love to attempt. I'm approaching with confirmation bias. I would love to. I would love to vindicate microwaves, or be proven wrong. I would love to know the truth one way or another because I have very strong beliefs on what I know about EMF. That everything we're worried about microwaves is kind of like bogus in certain ways, for lack of a better term. But it's a conversation I want to have. It's good stuff. Protected and bought, no one knows. Yeah, I want to know too. And if I'm wrong, boy, do I want to know I'm wrong because I've really kind of, I'm not trying to die on that hill, but I kind of planted my flag in it, didn't I? Is there a reason I don't want a propane system? Yeah, I mean, sure. The main reason being, health things. Cooking with gas inside. There's all these studies saying that there's tons of unburned chemical or partially burned chemicals, byproducts of combustion that are released into the air at a rate far higher than once believed, and that's pretty compelling. Another thing that's very compelling is that the byproduct of any hydrocarbon combustion is carbon dioxide and water. Those are the two main byproducts, I should say. And water vapor in a confined, hopefully airtight, well-insulated living space is a huge problem. And you will get condensation on the windows, especially if there's more than one person, or if you're taking a shower, or if what you're cooking is also, boiling or emitting water vapor into the air, which is very likely, when you cook things. That's what happens. And mold is a huge concern. It's of paramount concern, I would say, in any type of mobile build. And the paradox being, the more airtight you build the space, which is good for insulative purposes, the more problematic having high levels of interior moisture becomes. And the need for appropriate ventilation is amplified significantly. And the best way to do that is to have some type of continuous air changeover, an energy recovery ventilator of some sort, which basically allows you to ventilate with the outside air while recovering the heat from the air that's either coming in or going out. So in the summertime, you're not wasting all that energy sending cold air out. And in the wintertime, you're not wasting all that energy sending hot air out. That's really the most, in my opinion, that's like the most significant health risk, perhaps, of living in a space like this, aside from the tailpipe emissions, of course. um, yeah, so anyway, I don't want the propane system for those reasons. Plus, I'm big into the electrical thing, and I thought it would be cool to have a bus that really could indefinitely provide its core functionality without energy input, you know. So far the diesel heater is the last thing, and frankly, keeping any type of living space warm off of solar power in an extremely cold environment in the winter is really not possible with the amount of roof space that's on a school bus. It just isn't. I mean, you could purpose build a bus, perhaps, maybe with like ultra insulation and like self-clearing, self-tilting tracking panels and things like that. I mean, like you could maybe do it, right? But I don't think it's practical or reasonable. So that's kind of why I'm not doing the propane. Ironically, of course, I have a propane tank mounted on this bus, and I use propane to run a little fire pit I have for funsies. And then I also have a propane backup generator, and I like using propane for that because propane in that horizontal tank is much more safe and contained, at least in my opinion, than jerry cans of gasoline. Modern gasoline has a pretty short shelf life, and propane doesn't. And it burns, cleaner, straight up. So that's why I do that, and so I'm still doing propane, but I'm not bound to it the way I used to be, So here you go. Do I have a list in chronological order of how you go from school bus to RV? Yeah, I do. I have like a build order video. You can check it out. I can't recall what it's called, but I've got one. Pseudoscience may save you from corrupt science. Side. Nice, though. Trust your internal instruments. Hey, And to that end, I don't know if anyone out here is hip to the guy, Rupert Sheldrake. Check out, he has a banned TED Talk. I don't know if it was actually banned, but he talks about the science delusion. Which is not to say I don't believe in science. I am a fucking, I believe in science. But science, like all religions, has its dogmas and its problems and its blind spots. And he gives a really compelling argument of why we should reconsider the boundaries we put around modern science. And perhaps open it up to more of the phenomenon that we can't explain as having more, I guess, more impact in our world than we're willing to admit, perhaps. I don't know. Okay, I'm just getting so sidetracked here. Talkative night. It's been a long time. Burning propane creates water vapor. Yep. Carbon monoxide potential. You're a rabbit. You shoot for 6.2 kilowatts of solar with panels that slide out. Yes. Everybody wants the slide out panels, and I wish you the best of luck, and I hope it works well for you. If you have a slide out system that really works, there is such a need in this community for like a good design of how to do that. I don't have one. And most of the time I'm trying to talk people out of doing them because unless you're really experienced and a very capable builder, it's a really hard thing to execute well. To make something that can move and maybe move in multiple axes, right? That is a tall ask, I think, for a lot of people who maybe don't have much build experience. Sounds like you might have. I get the hunch that you have some building experience, so maybe you can execute it. But gosh, if you make a video or something, because people want to know how to do that. I want to know how to do that. Southern Rebel, propane is a wet gas to burn. Wet grass too. But if you only use it to cook, yeah. And I will tell you what, when I was cooking with propane, a 20-gallon propane tank would last me living by myself, an easy 4 months. of use. And that was, I didn't have a microwave in that bus. I had a rice cooker, a toaster, and then a propane RV, range and oven. And I'll tell you what, I made a lot. I made a lot of audio's going in and out. Oh geez, come on, people. I'm too far behind. I'm gonna scroll down the list. I don't know. I can't explain the audio thing, but that's okay. Compost in a bucket. Yeah, it's great. Audio's good. Maybe it's not. I don't know. What did I use for my walls? These are it's just half-inch plywood, half-inch Baltic birch plywood, painted white. Jay Gannon, my walls mold so bad in an RV. Mice love spray foam most. I've heard that. I have not experienced that. In my last bus, I was parked in a field on a farm where the house, anything on that farm, was just decimated by mice. Like it was just a thing, I never had one mouse in that bus, like to the chagrin of other people on the farm. Not one ever got into my bus. I don't know if it was the spray foam, because there's certainly other ways that mice can get in there, but I also don't know necessarily how a mouse would get access to a cavity with spray foam in it, because in theory, all of those cavities would be behind metal of some kind. But I don't know. Again, I don't know. There's a lot of room. If I had more time, I would love to do these experiments, see if mice will eat spray foam. People want to know. Yeah, efficiency does drop with heating on a mini split as the temperature drops. I got a 2006 Honda Element. It's got 240,000 miles. I got it for $2,700. There is no rust, like not a speck of rust. A family bought it for their teenage daughter, and then she was going off to college, and I got it from them. It's a 5-speed all-wheel drive. Everything works. It's in great shape, but it was $2,700 because it had some check engine lights, and I knew, that was the deal. Got the check engine lights all resolved. Although a new one came up, but I'm about to go fix it after I end this live stream. Anyway, I love the Element, man. My first Honda I've ever owned. I'm a Toyota guy, but the Element, wow, really kind of got my heart. And it can flat tow. Even the automatic all-wheel drives can flat tow. Doesn't weigh anything. Still gets the gas mileage isn't great, but it's a peppy frickin' car, And it's all-wheel drive. What microwave oven do I have? It's a Coolmore. You can get them on Amazon. It was like $1,000. So it's not cheap, but it's an oven, and it's a microwave, and it's a convection oven, and it's a 120 volt oven, which was cool. A lot of the all-electric ovens want to be 220, and I didn't want to go 220 in this bus because it's a smaller bus, limited space, and I really didn't need it. And I've been more or less happy with it. I mean, the things I've baked in there, roasted vegetables. I've baked, everything from pizzas to some brownies and reheated things, macaroni and cheese. I've baked in there, and it seems to do pretty good. I think it's a little off on the thermostat. I think it doesn't get as hot as it says it does. So I've just been preheating it a little hotter, and that seems to work. I just started doing that. Worked a lot better. Very happy with it though. It's the same. Bosch makes the exact same model. It's just rebranded, and they charge I think $1,800 or $1,900 for it. So here we go. Lots of good comments, guys. I really I apologize that I'm gonna have to skip through a bunch here, but coming from Renji stuff with my van over to Victron, yeah, the VRM is awesome. It's really cool to be able to log in and do things from pretty much anywhere, Minimal is the key, bro. Fair enough, I do minimal. This just isn't where I'm doing it. Which is funny because I'm in 150 square feet right now. You're you're not minimalist enough. Maybe I'm not. I don't care. I'm not doing it. Of course, I know you're not. I know you know that I'm not doing it for you. I'm very much doing it for myself. But like, I've lived in, little Toyota Sunraiders, right? And they're very minimal. You can always go minimal, absolutely. You can go more minimal. There's really, there's no limit as long as you still have a heartbeat, I think. But like, I got guitar, I want to keep it climate controlled. I want plants. I want to keep it climate controlled for them. Um, you know, Still a very efficient way of living, I would say. Um, Certainly fairly expensive though, to build. Anyway, we'll get going. It's a philosophical discussion. I would really love to have. That was what my all my college student loans are paying back my philosophy degree. This is funny. I appreciate all the comments. I like that I have people who watch these videos who I think are, I'm biased, but I feel like above average intelligence. I think anyone curious, I think that automatically kind of makes you smarter. I think curiosity is intelligent. um, and I love discourse, especially if it's really, as unmediated as it can be, which is hard because I have a camera. We're doing it on the internet. I mean, it's a highly mediated type of engagement that we're doing here, but it's cool. It's cool. It's cool. This is good. I'm seeing comments I want to get into because they're good here. So, anyways, I will film a tour video. You better believe it. Jay Gannon, good comments. My green gas guzzler. I mean, that is this thing, and like you're so right. I did a one bus fair, one festival. My debut presentation was actually kind of shaming people, I guess, or just trying to dispel the myth that this lifestyle is green if you are driving much. And basically, I did the math, calculated the carbon footprint, which was a term coined by Shell Energy to help focus the blame of their carbon output on the consumer, which I think was a brilliant marketing move because it's become a part of our cultural lexicon, both conservative and liberal, right? Everyone's talking carbon footprint. Anyway, basically, if you drive a full size bus like this, I think it was 8,000 miles a year. You just in driving, you equal the amount of energy that a typical. I think I used 1,600 square foot American home. It was something slightly under what I think the average was, but same energy as a home that size uses in a year, right? And of course, in the grand scheme of things, these solar systems that we put on our buses, like, yes, let's not over exaggerate the fact that they really aren't producing much energy at all. Which goes back to what I was saying earlier. These systems can't produce much because we have a tiny roof to use. So we have to be very efficient. So we are living very efficiently off of minimal energy. It's just when we choose to move that becomes a problem. And I understand that's why you believe the permaculturally parked bus over the boomer RV story so much. And that's, my last bus. It didn't move for 4 years, roughly 3.5 years, being parked on a farm. So I'm very sympathetic, and I understand and even believe a lot of these. It's complicated. Thank you for the super chat here. Rhinoceros, what's happening, Charlie? AK Chuck is a high bay welder. You've been a huge resource of valuable info for builders in general. Dude, thank you so much, Rhinoceros. I'm liking that in real time. That's cool. I like that we're having a good conversation in here. I could hang out with you all night. It would be a lot more fun than replacing the was it the VTEC spool valve on that Element, which I really need to do before the morning. Because like this comment here, there's a very real argument for buying an old, less efficient vehicle versus the impact of manufacturing a new, more efficient vehicle or electric vehicle. And I am sympathetic to that. And I would furthermore say that, like, hybrids, in my opinion, I think are the most ideal solution for most people right now, off of this technology. They have a lower impact as far as what it takes to build them because their battery banks are tiny, their engines are tiny, just everything's little, and they don't use much fuel. They can benefit from regenerative braking. It's like you get the best of both worlds, right? Um, and we've been making super efficient hybrids now for like easily 10 years. So you could even say like, what is even an older vehicle? Because a 10-year-old hybrid could still be getting 50 miles to the gallon, and it's funny because I've got friends who've owned Volkswagen Rabbits. I have two friends who've owned Rabbits, and those Rabbits get like 50 miles to the gallon, and they're from the early 80s. Granted, they are running non-EGR mechanical diesels that are really high polluting in terms of their like soot and was it nitrogen oxide? Is that what it is? It's the really bad, the NOx emissions, but nonetheless, very efficient. Um, Propane is best on a bus on low ventilated perfectly. Yeah, I had a great time on my propane. This is awesome. The horizontal propane tank I'm using, honestly, I got for free from this propane shop that I've been going to forever. AAA Propane in Arvada, Colorado. They'll get you set up, I'll tell you what. But yeah, we've been using them for years, and I rolled in there, and I don't even remember. I think I was just lamenting the fact that at the time, this was sometime in the pandemic, horizontal propane tanks became unobtainium. They did not exist for a long period of time, and when they did, they had suddenly rematerialized at like 3 times the price. And I wanted a propane tank for this bus, and I asked like, yo, what's the deal? Do you guys sell propane tanks, because they're crazy expensive everywhere I see them? And the guy's like, we just had an RV come in and upgrade their propane tank to a bigger one, and it was like a 1-year-old RV. He's like, I can't legally sell this to you for some reason, but I'll give you it. And so he gave me their old propane tank off of that RV, which is still quite large. I think it's 28 gallons or so, which is, I want to say roughly like, no, it's not 28 gallons. It's close to it. It's like 20, because it's not quite a 100-pound tank. I think it's like a 60 or an 80-pound propane. Nonetheless, tons of propane. And it's just sitting there. Did I install a bidet? I actually did, yeah, but it's like a handheld spray one. Um, uh, Here we go. 1990 Toyota pickup. Oh man, I just sold mine. Well, 89. It's the same. This is good. Everybody's talking now. Play us a song. God, I might if I had enough time. People, this is good. We're talking guitar tone now. My guitar tone got better when I just let my instrument freeze. Oh, believe me, my guitar freezes. Like, unless the discourse involves Havelock. Well, you know what? Yeah, I'm pretty opinionated on Havelock. But I love Havelock in certain applications. Brenton, I did miss your super chat question, dude. Okay. I'm scrolling back. That's embarrassing. I was clearly... Here we go. With the trailer wire bundle I ran to my lights, did I use 14 gauge, or did you get some of the multi-gauge wires that seem associated with trailer brakes and stuff? Yeah, no, I didn't, because I was just running just to the lights. And what's also, furthermore, this is wire that's 14 gauge running to LED lights that are going to be using maybe 1 amp each at the most. Probably, I don't know what lights you're using. So it's great. Good overkill, nice continuous run, straight back. The multi-gauge wire stuff is cool, though, if you're going to be installing a trailer, hitch of some kind. The multi-gauge is definitely what I would run. I didn't see it when I got the wire for this, so it was all one spool, and I used it for both. But the multi-gauge is cool because, yeah, sending power to the trailer or running the trailer brakes, it's nice to have that thicker gauge wire for that, for voltage drop reasons. I'm liking that too. Sorry I missed it, dude. I see you all the time. I'm glad you spoke up. I would have been real embarrassed, James Seidel, thank you so much. Just number one fan. Hey, I guess, unless someone wants to super chat to contest it, I guess that makes you the number one fan. I don't know how it works. Okay, this is good. Okay, I think I'm caught up. I think I'm like pretty caught up. So I'll show, you know what? Here's what we'll do. I gotta take a drink. I'm sorry. I've been talking so much. Usually I only go an hour, and that's what we're at now. But I'm gonna do the quick tool du jour just to share some things that if you don't have, but I kind of feel like everybody here does have. But if you don't have it, get them because you'll just use the crap out of them. And some things that I've been using in the bus life world. So the first one, of course, is like a good headlamp. I mean, I've had this one. I think I've had this close to 8 years, 8 years. This is it was expensive at the time. I bet they're cheaper now. It's made by Petzl, and they're kind of like a good brand, I guess. I don't know. I got it at REI, but I liked it because at the time it had a rechargeable battery, and you know what? That same battery still is giving me like, if I have it on medium, I think I still get like 8 hours of light out of it, and when it's on high, it is like, it's stupid bright. I'll be using this later tonight while I work on the Honda. So it doesn't have to be a super nice one, but it is something that you'll use, not just on the road though, during the build process. If you're crawling under the bus, or just oftentimes things are dark, you'll see me, if you're hanging out with me when I'm working, I'll be wearing one of these frequently, and it makes life a lot easier. So that's why a nice one's good. I think this one was around $60 when I bought it. I bet they're cheaper now though. And then this one, these are, I think, $2 at the old Harbor Freight, but just a good old fashioned spring clamp. And boy, I mean, I think at any given time in my life, there's about a half a dozen of these in use, performing some function. They have it's like almost painful. They have a very tight grip. They come in different sizes too. I have a smaller one. Do I have a small? Yes, I do. Cute little guy. Oh, I just lost my backrest here. Still got to make the magnets to hold that in. Here's a little guy. Pretty good. And you can use these to I've got this lip here. I can clip things on. Really, really handy. Good stuff. And and a roll of gaff tape. Did I bring the gaff tape over? Oh my gosh. If you don't know about gaff tape, this is what people in the production industries, like film, audio, video, it's usually black, but it's a pretty strong tape. It's got a kind of fabric back. It's pretty thin. What is really nice about it is that it generally does not leave a residue. So when you hit the road and you find things are loose or whatever and you got to tape stuff, if you want strength, but you don't want to leave residue, gaff tape is cool. It's a little expensive. But this one roll, I've been liberally using the gaff tape as I've been traveling because I didn't get the chance to install latches on a few cabinets, unfortunately. Super useful tool, and this is probably going to last me like 6 more months. So good stuff. All right. All right. I think we're gonna call it here, but before we go, I'm gonna do this thing and give you a brief tour. No one else has seen it, so only people who make it to the end of the end of this ridiculous live get to see the whole thing. So here we go. This is where I'm sitting, and I wish it would let me do a more wide field of view, right? But that's my sink. Got the foot pedal thing happening there. Also, we're doing a reverse osmosis system in here, the water drop. It seems to do really well, if you believe what the screen, let's see, that screen is telling you. We got some upper cabinets happening. Pretty good. And on this side, more of the same. I wish I could zoom out, you know. And then the bed's back there, kitchen zone. This is the Victron uh, screen with what's going on. We've just plugged into shore power a few hours ago, so we're recharging. That's why we're at 26%. Pretty cool though here. You know, I can scroll over. I've got some thermometers that I've placed around that are connected here, so I know if my freezer is working. I know the temperature in the kitchen, in the garage, which is under the trunk, and I know outdoors. So like I haven't run I'm not running a heater right now. It's 44 outside, and just because I'm charging the bus and we're generating heat through the inverter charger while it works, the garage is at 76, and that heat is trickling into my living space, making it 66 in here. So I haven't seen, my diesel heater hasn't kicked on, I mean, frankly, since this morning. So, and there's a whole lot of other things you can do here. I really like this setup. Anyway, got this zone, the kitchen, forgive the dirty plates. And I think it's going to be so zoomed out, it's going to be hard to see kind of what's going on. But we got the bathroom with the stainless shower pan. And then a mirror thing. It's a backlit brass mirror. It's from, I think it's from Turkey. And then this is the Ogo composting toilet. There's that bidet that I was talking about. That's a spray attachment. It's nice for just spraying down, you know, the toilet for cleaning. This is the inside of the curved wall. You know, got the towel hanging. It's kind of funny to just be showing a bunch of strangers your house, you know. This is kind of the vibe from inside. The bus, it's like it's a real, you know, handmade rug from Afghanistan. And yeah, bed zone. You got the mini splits all covered there. There's the bed. Oh, I guess, let me see if I can zoom out enough. This is the, that's the Coolmore all-in-one kind of oven deal. And then that's the DC fridge. That's an isotherm CR200, Cruise 200 fridge freezer. Pretty cool. The freezer only gets down to about, you know, 10 to 15 degrees. That might not be cold enough for you. Cool little thing. We got some storage here. Kind of neat. And again with the uppers, these are all, this is all one piece of walnut that opens there. I made some Rice Krispie treats the other night. I'm pretty proud of that. That's something a guy with a microwave would say. And I did say it, and it is true. Okay, so we're going to get back down here. Let's see, is that the right camera? That's the wrong camera. That's the right camera. God, I'm on camera. Okay. The cabinet the wastewater does go back into my fresh tank. It sure does. Look at all this. We got people coming out here. The taste of, you know, all that is contained in this bus. And maybe we'll be here next week. I don't know. But it was nice being here with you. And I guess until next time, safe travels. Build well.